Hi, my name is Angie Breidenbach. I'm the Executive Director for the International Institute of Genealogical Studies, found at genealogicalstudies.com. Today, we're excited to present to you WikiTree, and we have a special guest that's going to share about this amazing free organization that helps you to build a worldwide tree together. I had the honor of being a guest with WikiTree on December 18th, 2024. That video is viewable for you online. And if you have any questions, please feel free to go to genealogicalstudies.com, drop a note in the chat app, and I'll help you find it. Those do come right to us. We're real people here. We don't have any bots. We do have courses available for anyone who's wanting to become a professional or family historian, personal historian, or if you're doing continuing education. We're just so glad you've joined us here at the International Institute of Genealogical Studies, found at genealogicalstudies.com. Our guest today is Azure Robinson from WikiTree, and she is their social media manager. And she has up on the screen, you can see where she's going to start and introduce us to WikiTree and help us with a little bit of the learning curve, learn how to do it. I find it fascinating, and it's fast becoming one of my favorite family tree websites. So thank you, Azure. Please take it away.
All right, thank you so much for having me. So I found WikiTree back in 2018 when I did a Google search for my ancestor. So that's part of what we're doing is we're spreading the word, and you're helping us do that about WikiTree. So when you do a search now on Google, hopefully you'll find maybe your ancestor on WikiTree that way, as I did. So I am one of 10 of the freelance part-time employees at WikiTree. We keep it really small because, as you see on the front page here of WikiTree, it's for free forever. That's the goal that Chris Whitten set back in 2008 when he started WikiTree, that it would always be free. It is a single family tree that genealogists collaborate on. And so that's just something to keep in mind. We share ancestors, so we're collaborating together on it. And you can see there that we have now over 40 million profiles, and 14 million have DNA test connections. We have over 1 million members that are participating on this tree. So one thing that is a big part of WikiTree is the community, and the community came together and we came up with this honor code. It's a 9-point honor code that in order to upgrade to a wiki genealogist, which is the top tier membership level, and of course WikiTree is all free, so it's free to upgrade to that level. So this is just our honor code. You read through it, basically it's a commitment to collaboration, accuracy, understanding and courtesy toward other members, respecting privacy and copyrights, giving credit, citing sources, and agreeing to our shared mission of increasing the world's common store of knowledge and keeping information as free and open as possible. So that's kind of a condensed version of it. Here it is, though. I'm going to share these pages in the chat. You can see here, I've already signed the honor code. That's why it says, thank you for signing the honor code right here. If you are just joining WikiTree and you haven't upgraded yet, there would actually be a button there for you to sign it. And then you can see all the people who have signed, and here are their names. So it's kind of nice to see everybody there. Let me just go ahead and drop that into the chat. There you go. And talking about privacy, just want to share the privacy help page next. So privacy on WikiTree is a little bit different than any other genealogy website. For each profile, we can set the privacy for each specific profile. So it's not for your whole family tree, it's for your ancestor profile, for your profile, for your brother's profile. They can each all be different. So this allows you to really dial in how you want, how much of the information to show. So for living non-member profiles, the privacy is required to be unlisted. So no visible information except for those who share that profile. So they're on what we call a trusted list. So they're allowed to see the information. So it kind of gives you an idea of how that works. And if you scroll down the page here, you see that there are different levels. So private information, public information, you can say, okay, we can share the information that's on the profile, but I don't want it just anybody to be able to edit it. Or private with public biography, private with public family tree, private with public biography and family tree. So there's lots of different options there. And of course, the open setting is for profiles of non-living people without any sensitive information or real privacy concerns. Those should be set to open. And then we have a rule or a guideline that anybody born over 150 years ago or who died over 100 years ago must be open. So that allows us all to collaborate together on our shared ancestors. All right. So those are the two main kind of pages I wanted to share about the policies on WikiTree. Next, I just want to share a sample ancestor profile. This is one of my ancestors. It's my great-grandfather. And you can see here that right here at the top, you see his name and year of death and birth and death. And then here you can see that there's an edit tab because I'm on the trusted list. I'm actually the profile manager. There's an images tab where you can upload images. The tree apps, we won't go into that today. It's so fully functional. There's so many options. It would be its own several hour video, but it is definitely worth kind of exploring because there's so many different ways to view your family tree and your relatives' family trees. So just kind of keep that in mind. There's a changes tab where you can see any changes that have been made to a profile. And you can actually see the before and the after, just like if you edit on Wikipedia, it's the same kind of thing that we have here. And then the privacy tab, which we just talked about. So this is where you can dial in the privacy of a profile, how much you want to be able to be seen. And you can also put people on the trusted list or add yourself if there's nobody on the profile, if it was an orphan profile. So the next section of the page is just quick links taking you to different sections of the page. So categories, and just a note, I should actually turn off the WikiTree browser extension. Sorry, I'll do that now because you're seeing the options that I have set up for that. So I'm going to turn it off and you'll see what the normal standard version of WikiTree is. Just going to refresh my page. I recommend definitely getting a couple of the browser extensions because they are they make everything just more fully featured than it already is for WikiTree. So just something to keep in mind, and I'll provide those links towards the end too.
There's a small fee for a couple of those things, but it's like $4, $5.
Not for just Chrome. It's free for Chrome, I think. It's if you're using an iPad or an iPhone, then those ones, yeah, the apps there do, just because we have to pay a fee in order to have them there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so you can see here all the detailed information. And the reason why I picked this profile is because it's a little bit different, because this gentleman went by an alias part of his life. So you can see here, his name is George Ferris Anderson, but he went by Robert Harrison for a part of his life. So that's kind of shown there. We have different fields for first, the forenames and the middle names and last names, other last names, with lots of options there. And of course, the birth details and death details. And then you can see here also siblings, spouses, and children, and the parents are all here. And then the next section of the profile shares who the profile managers are. You can see that's me and my mom. And the profile ID is right here. That's a 1-up number. So every profile that's created on WikiTree, including yours if you join WikiTree, gets a 1-up number for the last name of birth at birth. So that's just something to keep in mind when you create a profile on WikiTree for yourself. You want to make sure it's whatever your last name at birth goes in that field. And then there's a field for your current last name. All right, and then you have when the profile was created, when it was last modified, and then the last track change would be there if it's a recent one. And then how many times the profile's been accessed. And then just before we go down too far, also here at the top on the right, you can see here a link to our what we call G2G, or genealogist to genealogist forum, our community forum where we can ask questions for help. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but this is where you would find any posts that are linked to a profile would be towards the top here. And then next on the right here is DNA connections. So once you've connected a profile to the global tree on WikiTree, including yours, if there are any other profiles of people that have taken a DNA test that are within that distance from you, say for instance, a second cousin or a third cousin, it's going to show you those possible DNA connections there on the profile. So you can see he's my great grandfather. So you can see my mom's shown up first, and then my aunt and myself and my cousins and siblings are all showing up on here because we've all taken DNA tests, and they're all noted on our profiles. So WikiTree doesn't take your DNA details, like it doesn't take an upload of your DNA like 23andMe or Ancestry or MyHeritage. We just take down that you took a test and where it was taken. That's all that you share for DNA on WikiTree. So that's why if you look here for my mom, for instance, 23andMe, Ancestry, that's where it's just sharing where the information is, and then GEDmatch and a link there. So just that's how DNA is handled on WikiTree. And then the next part of this profile is the biography. And I love this part about WikiTree, that we're able to actually write up the story of our ancestors' lives. Yeah, and we can even, if I had pictures for this ancestor, I could put that into the body of the biography here and share that. So you can really do a lot of wonderful things with a profile page like this. And then you can see here, the reference is the inline citation for a source for each of these facts of the biography. And if you scroll down here, on the right-hand side, then under DNA, you can see the images that are attached to this profile. So for instance, a headstone image. And then back to the body of the page, we have a section for DNA statements. So back on when you create a profile, which I'll go through later, you can actually say that the relationship from son to father is DNA confirmed. You can actually put that in there, and basically you're setting the confidence level of that relationship, which is really great. And then of course, the most vital part of this is the sources section, where we actually share our citations from records that are providing the details for this person. And so there you go. That's a whole profile. And you can see lots of information can be shared from family search. You can share from this. There's a record here from online archives for Washington State, Ancestry, newspapers.com. So you can kind of pull together from all different websites into one profile here. So that is an ancestor profile. Let me go ahead and I'm just going to link that for you guys so you can check that out if you want.
When you're sharing
And then
newspapers.com or behind a paywall, does it stay behind a paywall when it's shared to WikiTree?
yes, it does. And actually what it does is when you do a newspapers clipping, when you're on newspapers.com and you do a clipping, they have a share, a link that they provide to you that's for sharing with other people. It gives them basically a preview of the article, and that's what we provide for the citation. If you're using, for instance, Sourcer, or even if you just share that clipping, that link is for sharing with other people. So yeah, if they want to actually go into the article, then that's when they have to pay. Yeah. All right, so that's an ancestor profile. Next, I was going to share a couple space pages. So a free space page is just like what it sounds like. It's a free space for you to share pretty much anything. There's space pages for family Bibles, for family photo books. Really, you can think about whatever you'd like to share. Because it's a wiki, you can then link to all those different profiles or different space pages or ancestor profiles. So there's lots of ways you can use them. One of the projects on WikiTree is One Place Study Project. It's one I help manage. And here is an example, small one place study. Just kind of gives you an idea of what that might look like. So a one place study is a study of one place and the history and the genealogy of that place. This was for a ghost town, and so it's a fairly narrow time frame and a small amount of people. So you can see I've got images inserted into the body of the page, and then you can write up the history. This kind of shares what you can do on a space page. And here I've got a table for the 65 people that lived there over the couple of decades that it was in existence. Just kind of give you the idea of that. And another way you could use a space page is for a will transcription. Here's an example of one that I did. Let's see, it is got the will transcription. There's some notes about the transcription and what the words were used at that time frame. There's images of the will. So just more examples of a space page. Another way to use a space page is a cemetery. So this is a cemetery that's just down the street from me, and I started taking pictures of the headstones and entering profiles for the people who were buried there because I live right here in this town. So this is another way you can use it, is to share work being done on a cemetery. And with different locations and projects like name studies or place studies or cemeteries, there can be an accompanying category. There can even be categories for occupations. So category allows you to group together profiles, ancestor profiles for instance, the cemetery. So if you scroll down, you'll see how there are multiple space pages that are attached, and there are over 3,000 profiles attached to this cemetery. So once you have grouped people in a cemetery category, for instance, and if you are connected to the global tree, you have options that you can do. You can check your connections to the people that are in that category. So it's just one of the features of WikiTree, because it's a one single tree that we're sharing. You can check your connection to other people on the tree, including notable and notable profiles or other genealogists. So lots of ways you can use it. This gives you an idea. Also, if you have a category, you can check your the activity feed for work that's been done in that category. So instead of just looking at changes to a profile, you can see all the changes that were done to the category, to profiles in the category. All right. So just going to provide that category link for you guys there. And then back when we were talking about this profile and how we're linked, we have a link here to the community forum. This is the G2G. It's just the abbreviated form of that, genealogist to genealogist forum. It's our way to talk to each other. And so you can ask all kinds of questions. There are different categories. You can share appreciation, ask for genealogy help, share about photos, or maybe ask help with a photo. Maybe you have a photo that has an old car in it and you don't know what kind of car that might be. You're trying to maybe place a time for a photo. Or maybe you have a photo of a headstone that's in a different language. You can ask for help with translation. I've done that many times, and it's wonderful because we have a global community at WikiTree. There are members from all over the world. They can help, and they usually respond right away. I've never actually had to wait more than a day or so to hear back, and usually it's within a couple hours. There's a category for questions about policy and style. You can ask for project volunteers or respond to requests for project volunteers. You can ask for help, and then if there are questions about tech. So lots of different options for reaching out to the community for assistance or sharing information. So talked briefly about projects. When I mentioned the one place studies or one name studies is another big project on WikiTree. We have projects that are for different location countries, but also there are projects that are organized around volunteer activities or topics. So I'm going to just put that link here in the chat for you all. So some of them are Canada, England. England's one of our big projects. Then we have the Cemeteries Project. We have a Disasters Project. So lots of different types of projects. And then we have functional projects. So for instance, we have a project called Accessibility Angels, and that's to help people who have vision or other impairments that are kind of limiting what they're able to do on WikiTree. So we work with them and try to meet their needs. Adoption Angels is another one. These are people who help volunteers that have been adopted, and so or they have an adoptee in their family. They need help trying to figure that out, and so that the whole group of people that help you do that. So lots of different options for reaching out and joining in with community activities, and maybe getting help with your ancestor's profile. Maybe you have an ancestor in Germany and you're not familiar with how to do research there. If you join the Germany project, that's a whole group of people then that are there to help you out. So it's really a great way to expand your knowledge and meet other people. All right. So just wanted to show my profile real quick. If you had questions that come up in your mind after this, you can always reach out to me. Robinson27225 is my profile ID. And I'm also azure@wikitree.com for email if you would like to just email. So we'll go ahead and open it up to questions. If anybody has questions they'd like to ask.
I think it's such a great website. And I know when we were looking at, they invited me to be you all invited me to be the special guest. I was shocked at how many sources were found so quickly. Um, but of course, and some of them I'd put on different places and other family had done, but it was really, really cool. So one of the things that I was able to do with that was to really look back in a deep dive and look at where the broken connections were that are not yet proven. And I thought that was super helpful. And there's at least one of my lines that goes back to about the 25th to 30th great grandparent, where because it's one of those known royal lines, it's more likely, and that was
Yeah.
a really fun thing to find. And then I also found the being able to look at my connections. And every week, for those of you who have never been on WikiTree before, every week there's a different focus that WikiTree does, the connection checker. Oh my gosh, that is fun because you never know you know, what it's going to show up as. And um, yeah, so to find out, not only am I a direct descendant of the Empress Matilda and Eleanor of Aquitaine, but when you start looking through my family lineage, how many times the variety of spellings because of the different countries, the name Eleanor shows up,
Yeah.
was
Crazy, isn't it?
fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
this week it's born in 25. So people who were born in 25. So it can be 1725 or 1225.
oh,
So it's kind of a fun one this week.
that is fun. I have to look at that. I think if nothing else, I'd probably be looking that at least once a week just because it is such a fun little tool. And then sometimes when you track down those degrees, sometimes they're married, they married and that's how you got the connection. And it's not a direct lineage. But sometimes you find an unexpected direct lineage through these really fun weekly, um, they're not called challenges, but connections. Yeah.
Yeah. Our example profiles of the week. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go to my WikiTree and then go to featured connections, that's another way you can kind of get to that. So right now it's showing the most recent featured connections for the last couple weeks, I believe. But you can also see there's a link here for examples like Magna Carta surety barons, Mayflower passengers. So this is what I was talking about, categories. These people are in categories. So that's how you would check them out. So like US presidents, just kind of gives you an idea of how to get there. And you
Very,
can put in the WikiTree ID of anybody, not just you. Like if you just want to check maybe your spouse or whoever or a friend, if you build out your friends tree. I do that a lot. I find end up building out my friends trees. So
if anybody else has a question, please feel free to pop in.
oh
Um,
yes.
There's one question on the chat page from Cheryl. Could you use a space page for military records, like a specific regiment in a Revolutionary War?
Most definitely.
Great idea.
There are definitely, I know there are, let's see, let's just go. I'm on the Military and War Project page right now. And if you go down here, there are what we call sub projects of this main project. And looking at the Revolutionary War, let's see here.
A good idea would be check to see if it already exists, and if not, check sub project, and still if not, Do it.
Yep, that's right. And if you go in to this 1776 project is what it's called, then you can see there are lots of stickers. Oh, stickers is a whole nother thing. But we have also category for American Revolution. There's DAR and SAR. And then I was thinking that it was, let me just see. Okay, here we go. So we have different events and let's see, I'm just going to go into the main. Yeah, there
So
there is the
free time.
yeah, there are top level, but if you go into
Well, look at that.
Yep. United States of America, American Revolution, and you go down through, like, say, Maryland. So I started at the top category, American Revolution. I'm just dropping down into United States and now Maryland. Okay, so here we go. Maryland's Revolutionary Associators, muster roll. These are space pages that are currently exist. So definitely you could start a new space page for it if you don't see one here. But that's what we were talking about. If you join the project, the Military and War Project, or maybe the 1776 project, they'll help you get started, and maybe kind of show you how to do one. So
you don't know what you're doing quite yet. You go to the main project page, tell somebody you'd like to know about this, and one of the other volunteers or members will help you figure it out.
Yep.
That's so nice. Joe would like to know, what is the process to start a tree?
Oh, okay. So yeah,
versus to start at WikiTree, but we might want to answer both questions.
Sure. Yeah. So let me see. All you do is you just go to WikiTree and then let me log out so we can see.
And then how to start the tree once you've logged in.
You just go to WikiTree here. And I'm going to log out so you can see what that looks like. Okay. So if you're never been to WikiTree before and you want to start up a profile, you would just go to the main page and then there's the login right here. And you would just click here to register. And that goes to a page where you can then create your account. So the first few fields, your first name, the most important field, of course, is the last name at birth. That's what we were talking about. This creates your profile ID, which is the 1-up number based on your last name at birth. And then you'll put in a password, retype the password, and then it does the make sure that you're 16 years or older, or if 13, that we have explicit parental permission. And then just the anti-spam protection. There's a couple of them there, and then you just create the account. So then once you have created your account, then let me go back to here. So then you would then you have a starting profile, your profile. So I'm just going to go to my profile and you'll see.
I like the video there of what is WikiTree. I think that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a good starter. Actually, I'm going to go to my ancestor profile here. I have a brick wall that I'll start from because they don't have parents. So let's say this is your profile. Then all you would do is you'd go into the edit tab and you then can start your if you sign that honor code that we talked about, and I've linked you to, then you can start adding your family members. So you can add father. And it's just as easy as that. Create a new profile for your father. And you just go through and fill in the data fields here. And then hit continue. And then you would add in your source citations for your ancestor, and you can write up your biography at that point. And then you just hit create. It's going to look to see if your ancestor already might exist in the database. If they do, then you can say, hey, that's my ancestor. We'll set that person as the father. And then you're good to go. You've gotten started. So that's basically how you start. You just create your own profile and then start building up from there.
What if you don't know the profile number or but you know the name of somebody? If you could show how do they search to see if the profile exists already?
Yeah, so if you're at the first page or the front page of WikiTree, you don't even have to be logged in. You can just type in somebody's name, first name, like that, and do a search. If you do know the profile ID, you would leave the first name blank and just put in the profile ID in the last name field there.
Perfect.
So there you go. This takes you to your results for searching for this person. So it's going to provide all the examples of the people that are already there. And then if you have a William Smith and you want to dial it down a little bit, you can provide more information like a birth date or death date, location. You have more fields that you can kind of try to narrow it down a little bit more.
Joe has an additional question. Can you upload a GEDCOM?
Yes, you can upload a GEDCOM. You just go to My WikiTree and go to GEDCOMs. And right here is how you upload a GEDCOM. And just a note, GEDCOMs work differently at WikiTree than anywhere else because we're checking your GEDCOM against what already exists on WikiTree. You actually have to go through and do a GED compare process that's linked here. You can go to that help page and learn more. But it's a little more involved than a normal genealogy website for GEDCOMs. So just to kind of note about that. And actually, it's interesting because when I started at WikiTree, I did upload a GEDCOM, but I ended up just adding one by one because I didn't like the GEDCOM junk that kind of came in. I didn't like how it was formatted. And so I just started doing one by one creating a profile. So I preferred to do that because then I could take my time with each ancestor profile and add all the information all together. So it's just whatever your preference is there.
And
but
what
yes.
happens if you run into somebody has uploaded maybe the right name, thinking it's the right person, but they've got like wrong birth dates, wrong death dates, that kind of a thing. How do you help to correct those?
Yeah, so if there already is an ancestor profile for one of your ancestors on WikiTree, and maybe the information is incorrect, you find, or you have a question, you're not quite so certain about it. Right here on the ancestor profile, this problems and questions button, if you click on that and open it up, it's going to give you options for where to go next. So you can ask a question in the G2G, you can search for help, you can ask a tech question, you can actually leave a comment on the profile. You can leave a message if you, right here, this little envelope, you can actually send them, the profile manager, a private message. So lots of different ways to collaborate with the other genealogists that are on the trusted list for this profile. especially with notable or those really older profiles. There can be conflated information, or might be some concerns. Then yeah, that really it does get into, you want to work that all out before making any major changes to a profile.
And
Oh, go ahead.
how does one do that if it's an orphaned profile?
Yeah, so if they're a profile, let me just show you what that looks like. Because you don't want to be on the trusted list or manage a lot of profiles because it bogs down the database. It's recommended you keep your watch list, is what we call it, down under 5,000 profiles. And I do a lot of different projects and challenges, so I end up orphaning a lot of profiles myself. So I'm just going to go back here to what I did the other day.
So you would have actually been the manager on it, and you choose to take yourself off it. Okay.
Yeah. And when, like, say we were working on your challenge for you and we were creating all those profiles, so I go through afterward and I go to my watch list, and there's a way you can go through and say, well, show me profiles that I've recently created, basically. And I can remove myself from a whole slew of profiles all at once. So it makes it easy that way. Nice. So you can see, here's a profile I just got through adding. And you can see right here where it usually would have the profile manager's name, it says that there is no profile manager. And if you sign the honor code, you're a wiki genealogist, you can adopt that profile and you become, I'll just show you what that looks like. Now, see, it shows me as the profile manager. So it's really that easy for you to take that on.
Nice. We have a couple more. We have a comment and another question.
Okay.
And I don't want to interrupt your flow, but Cheryl's comment is, takes time to add all the sources too.
Definitely.
But that's also where your Chrome add-ons can be very helpful, correct?
Yes. WikiTree Sourcer is awesome because and in fact, that's another reason why a lot of people have gotten away from doing GEDCOMs, is because with the WikiTree Sourcer, you can be on the ancestry profile or the family search profile. And with just a few clicks, you can just take that whole slew of information, all the data fields, and all the sources that are on that family search or ancestry profile, and create a brand new profile on WikiTree with all that information, with inline citations and everything. So this profile that I created yesterday, this one for his mom, these were all created with that WikiTree Sourcer. Pretty much everything that's here is from the Sourcer. It wrote out this information in the citation that you see here. The only ones that aren't were my own monumental inscription for the cemetery headstone photo I took. So yeah, it makes it a lot easier.
And
to add new profiles.
How does a person find How does a person find WikiTree Sourcer to add to their Chrome?
Yeah, I'll link that for you guys. So if you're just in Google, you just type in WikiTree Sourcer in the search, and it's actually going to come right up at the top here. It's one of the first results. So I'll just link that into the, yeah. And so it's great because we have all these volunteer programmers. Greg was one of them. They don't actually work for WikiTree. They volunteer their time and have developed these apps. So it's really wonderful.
You'll have to show everybody the tree apps.
Okay, I will.
I'm shocked at how many there are, and I know Greg did show that on December 18th, but this is a different video, so it'll be really fun.
Yeah.
And then we'll have another question after that.
Okay. Yeah, so if you go to anybody's profile, your profile or an ancestor profile. This is just one of the one place study profiles I've done. If you go to the tab for tree apps, it's going to so many options.
It blows
So
my mind.
it's going to default to what we call the couples dynamic tree, which is kind of what you're familiar with on other sites. It just, you can build out and just a basic tree, basically. And then if you go to the drop down for tree apps, wow, so many options. There's, one of the ones that I think we used is the fan chart. Did he show you that one? Yeah.
Yeah, and
then,
it's a very familiar looking chart for most people, so it's a great place to start. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me actually go to my and this is what you can see if you show your ancestors on your profile, right? But if you go to that tree apps, now it's going to show you what your most recent tree app view was. So you can see here, here's my fan chart for my family tree. So this is a little bit better because it shows both sides. And we could spend all day on this one because he has so many options. You can add or remove generations. You can change the way it's coloring by mtDNA or Y-DNA, or I mean, there's just so many options that you can do. It's really wonderful. Or by country. Another one that is fun is the generational statistics. So this is kind of cool. Shows you our earliest birth year, latest birth year, average marriage, generation length. So that's fun. And then there's a whole other aspect to WikiTree. It's kind of it's not an extension. It's another program. It's called WikiTree Plus, and it's where we manage database errors or suggestions. And so it's again, that's a whole nother feature of WikiTree that's wonderful. And we have a whole series of YouTube videos called Ask Alesh, who is the programmer for that. You can check it out on the WikiTree's YouTube channel. Just it's wonderful. But one of the tree app views is WikiTree Plus Maps, which is a lot of fun. So it takes, for instance, your ancestors and shows you a map view of your ancestors then.
Where they're at in the world.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot of features with WikiTree. It's really fully featured. And again, you can change how this information is shown. Lots of different ways to look at it.
It was really fun when they did this for me because the comment was how international my family lineage was.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy cow, I didn't even know some of those. It was really nice.
Yeah. And this is viewing ancestors of me. So you can also view nuclear family, or you could view managed profiles.
Wow.
If you're in WikiTree Plus, you can actually view, I think we showed you CC7 of your profile ID or anybody's profile ID. And so CC7 just stands for connection count out 7 degrees. So it includes relationships through marriages.
That's just amazing. Our next question comes from Brenda, and she's asking, where do I add the info that I have taken a DNA test?
Okay, so on your profile page, you would just go up to the add menu, and it's right there at the top, DNA test information.
That is fantastic. Now, do you have to upload any information from your DNA test?
No, the only thing you're adding here is what you see, like here's my DNA for 23andMe. I've just put in the test details. So the haplogroup, and then there's a connection to your DNA portal.com and that ID there. So that's all you would put, is that you basically that you took a test. And so then within 24 hours, if you're connected to the tree, it populates out to anybody who would also be connected to you.
Joe has a question, and this will probably have to be our last one because we are coming up on an hour. Going to respect everyone's time. We may end up asking you guys to come back, Azure, because this has been so entertaining and interesting and helpful for us. Joe's question is, can you print or copy the charts and the other analytics, if, for example, the generational data?
Yes, you can. If you're just on the page, if you just right click, you can go to print. So there's that.
Fabulous.
When you are in the tree apps, there is actually a printer friendly view of your family tree. So there's also that way. Yeah,
That's going to be
lots of different.
Oh, that's amazing. Look at that. Looks beautiful. You've done what I've done and added photos of back to your grandparents. I've been able to add some photos of great grands, which was really cool.
Yeah,
And
we actually one year had a scan-a-thon, that we had a marathon that was called a scan-a-thon, a whole weekend where we as a community, everybody was working on scanning or adding images or documents. It was a lot of fun.
Wow. And then you also have another place that I think we should then close with, and it is Discord, correct?
Yes. Yeah, let me take you there real quick. And that is just help Discord. It is a really great, we have a Discord server, really great way to collaborate because it's a real-time chat application. And yeah, so nothing like it. You can get so much help and feedback, or, just chatting. So yeah, it's
I
really
left
great
that
way to.
open for a week on my computer while we were doing my challenge in case somebody had a question for me, and they did, and it was amazing. Yeah.
It's funny because we get started on somebody's tree like that and it's hard to stop, right?
Yeah, and I had a lot of fun going back, seeing what people added after the week had ended, because they were in the middle of a project when the timer ran out and kept adding, and I was just so grateful. So it was really nice. Thank you so much for being with us, Azur. We don't have any more questions in the chat, but we've also run out of time. And would you all be willing to come back and talk in depth about some things we didn't cover in the future?
Definitely.
We would love it. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. We'll hold on for one more minute just to make sure everybody is cleared. Thank you for being with us. This is Angie Breidenbach of the International Institute of Genealogical Studies, found at genealogicalstudies.com. And we teach courses and do credentialing for people who want to have those professional credentials as a genealogist in DNA, in continuing education. And our guest today has been Azure Robinson of WikiTree.com, and we're just so grateful that you are with us. Thank you.
Thank you.